Most gardeners spend years staring at bare soil, empty patches, and sad little plants that barely seem to grow. They pour money into annuals just to fill the gaps, only to repeat the whole cycle next spring. But what if the real secret to a lush, full garden had nothing to do with buying more plants every year? What if planting just once this season could give you a garden so full and overflowing that your neighbors stop to ask what your secret is? Welcome to Golden Age Gardening. William Scott here, and in this video we're counting down 10 powerhouse perennials, from number 10 all the way to number 1 that spread fast, fill space beautifully, and come back stronger every single year. These aren't slow, delicate plants, these are garden workhorses. And the number 1 plant on this list, it can cover an entire bare patch before summer even ends. If this sounds like exactly what your garden needs, make sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell so Golden Age Gardening shows up every time we post. And if you want a garden that practically fills itself, tap that like button right now. It tells us to keep this kind of content coming. Let's get into it. New garden beds can be painfully discouraging. Plants look tiny for months. Bare soil invites weeds, and that lush, mature garden look that inspired you in the first place, it can take 4 or 5 years to achieve with ordinary plants. The gardeners who skip all that waiting share one common strategy. They choose plants that are naturally vigorous, fast-spreading, and built to expand their territory year after year. These are perennials that don't just survive, they thrive, multiply, and fill space without asking much in return. No replanting every spring, no expensive restocking, just smart plant choices made once with rewards that compound over time. Every plant on this list is manageable. These are not invasive nightmares, they're enthusiastic growers that respond well to simple control methods like dividing, edging, or light shearing. And when you divide them, you get free plants, enough to expand your garden or share with friends. Here are the 10 fast-filling perennials that will transform your garden, counted down from 10 to 1. Perennial number 10, Speedwell, Veronica. Varieties to look for, Royal Candles and Sunny Border Blue. Speedwell is one of the most underused perennials in home gardens, and that's a genuine shame. Royal Candles produces deep violet-blue spikes reaching up to 18 inches tall. Sunny Border Blue is slightly more compact at 12 to 15 inches, but equally eye-catching. Both form expanding clumps that grow wider each season. What makes Speedwell particularly valuable is its long bloom window, early summer right through late summer, and its ability to rebloom in fall if you deadhead the spent flower spikes. Butterflies and bees are drawn to it consistently, and deer tend to leave it alone. One thing most gardeners don't know, Speedwell performs best in lean soil. Rich, heavily fertilized soil causes floppy, weak stems. Keep the soil average, place it in full sun, and give it good drainage, and it rewards you season after season. Divide clumps every 3 to 4 years to keep the plant vigorous and to get extras for other beds. Perennial number 9, Creeping Phlox, Phlox subulata, varieties to look for, Emerald Blue and Candy Stripe. If you've ever driven past a garden in April and seen a hillside completely carpeted in vivid color, that was almost certainly Creeping Phlox. Emerald Blue produces a wash of blue-purple blooms. Candy Stripe delivers soft pink and white striped flowers that look almost painted on. The plants themselves stay low, just 4 to 6 inches tall, but they spread outward rapidly by rooting as they grow. A single Creeping Phlox plant can cover 2 feet of ground within 1 or 2 seasons. And because it's evergreen in most climates, that coverage isn't seasonal, it's year-round. This makes it outstanding for slopes, rock gardens, and front borders where you want dense, weed-suppressing ground cover that never looks bare. After blooming ends in spring, shear the plant back by about 1/3. This single step keeps the mat dense and prevents the bare center patches that old, untrimmed clumps develop. Drainage is non-negotiable. This plant will not tolerate wet, heavy soil, particularly in winter. Perennial number 8, Black-Eyed Susan, Rudbeckia fulgida, variety to look for, Goldsturm. Black-Eyed Susan is a native North American wildflower that earns its place in any garden through sheer reliability and speed. Goldsturm forms bold 2 to 3 foot clumps covered in golden yellow flowers with dark chocolate brown centers. It blooms from midsummer through fall, one of the longest bloom windows of any garden perennial. Here's what accelerates its spread. Black-eyed Susan uses 2 methods simultaneously. It spreads underground through rhizomes and self-seeds around the parent plant. Within 2 seasons, a small group of starter plants can become a dense weed-blocking colony. Goldfinches feed on the seed heads through winter, so leaving the dried stems standing adds wildlife value even after the flowers are gone. One research-backed tip worth knowing: Black-eyed Susan actually benefits from companion planting near ornamental grasses. The grasses catch and shelter the seed heads in wind, which reduces seed scatter and helps keep colonies tidy. Divide every 3 to 4 years to maintain vigor.
Perennial number 7, Ajuga, Bugleweed. Varieties to look for: chocolate chip and black scallop. Ajuga is one of the few perennials that genuinely thrives in shade, the difficult, dry shade under trees where almost nothing else survives. Chocolate chip stays incredibly compact at just 3 to 4 inches tall with tiny bronze-green leaves. Black scallop has dramatic, deep purple-black foliage with an almost metallic sheen. Both spread through above-ground runners called stolons, similar to the way strawberries multiply. Every node on those runners can root and become a new plant. A single Ajuga can cover several square feet within one growing season, faster than almost any other ground cover perennial. The spring flower spikes, in shades of blue-purple, emerge as a bonus each year and attract early-season bees when few other plants are in bloom. Because Ajuga is evergreen in most climates, it provides visual interest even in the middle of winter. Important note: use edging or hardscaping to contain Ajuga, because it will happily migrate into lawns and crowd out slower neighbors. But where you want dense, low-maintenance, shade-tolerant coverage, nothing beats it. If you're finding this list helpful, share this video with a fellow gardener who's struggling with bare spots or shady problem areas. And subscribe to Golden Age Gardening for more practical, money-saving advice every week. Perennial number 6, Bee Balm, Monarda. Varieties to look for: Jacob Klein and Raspberry Wine. Bee Balm is a native perennial with shaggy, tubular flowers that hummingbirds, native bees, and butterflies absolutely cannot resist. Jacob Klein produces brilliant red blooms and is specifically bred for mildew resistance, an important trait in this species. Raspberry Wine offers deep burgundy red flowers with equal vigor. Bee Balm spreads through underground rhizomes and can expand from a single plant to a 2 to 3 foot wide colony in just one growing season. The foliage carries a distinctive bergamot fragrance, the same scent used to flavor Earl Grey tea, which makes it pleasant to brush against while working in the garden. Something worth noting that many gardeners overlook: bee balm has a long history of use among indigenous North American peoples as a medicinal herb, and it's a genuinely important pollinator plant, particularly for long-tongued bumblebees that rely on its deep tubular flowers. The main challenge is powdery mildew in humid climates. Combat this by choosing mildew-resistant varieties, spacing plants for airflow, and avoiding overhead watering. If mildew appears in late summer, cut the plant back hard. It will regrow with fresh foliage before frost. Divide every 2 to 3 years to control spread and keep the plant healthy.
Perennial number 5, Coreopsis, threadleaf varieties. Varieties to look for: Moonbeam and Zagreb. Coreopsis is a native North American wildflower that science keeps rediscovering as ecologically valuable. Recent pollinator research has confirmed that Coreopsis species are among the top 5 native plants for supporting specialist native bee populations, bees that depend on specific plant families to complete their life cycles. Moonbeam produces soft, buttery yellow flowers with fine, thread-like foliage that creates a light, airy texture. Zagreb offers brighter, golden blooms on a slightly more upright form. Both spread through underground rhizomes, sending horizontal stems that pop up as new plants across a 2-foot radius or more in a single season. Coreopsis also blooms continuously from June through September with 0 deadheading required, one of the lowest maintenance perennials in existence. It thrives in poor soil, resents heavy fertilizing, tolerates drought, heat, and humidity, and is cold hardy to zone 4. The rhizome spreading habit means it can creep beyond its intended space, but every piece you remove is a free transplant ready for another spot. Full sun is non-negotiable for best flowering. Perennial number 4, Catmint, Nepeta. Varieties to look for, Walker's Low and Six Hills Giant. Catmint is proof that the best garden plants are often the most overlooked ones. Walker's Low forms billowing, fragrant mounds of silver gray-green foliage smothered in lavender-blue flower spikes from late spring through fall. Despite its name, Walker's Low is not particularly low. It mounds up to 2 feet tall and 3 feet wide in ideal conditions. A single catmint plant can spread to cover 2 to 3 feet of space in one season. Shear it back by half after the first heavy bloom in early summer, and it will push out a fresh wave of flowers in late summer, extending your color display significantly. Research from the Royal Horticultural Society has confirmed that Nepeta varieties rank among the top perennials for bee attraction. Bumblebees in particular visit catmint at remarkably high rates because the flower shape and nectar content are well suited to their foraging patterns. Catmint is drought tolerant once established, completely deer and rabbit resistant, has no significant pest or disease problems, and actually performs better in slightly dry, lean soil than in rich, heavily amended beds. Divide every 3 to 4 years to control its spread and refresh the center of old clumps.
Perennial number 3, Shasta daisies. Varieties to look for, Becky and Alaska. Shasta daisies are a garden classic for good reason. The variety Becky is particularly vigorous, growing 3 to 4 feet tall with flowers the size of your palm, bold, cheerful, and impossible to overlook. Alaska is slightly more compact at 2 to 3 feet, but equally fast-spreading. These plants form spreading clumps that expand outward steadily each season, covering 2 to 3 feet of space within 2 years. They also self-seed moderately, so seedlings appear naturally around the parent plant, giving you additional coverage without any effort. What's less commonly known about Shasta daisies is their value as cut flowers. An armful of Shasta blooms in a vase lasts 7 to 10 days, longer than most garden perennials, which means you can cut generously without impacting the garden display. They also attract hoverflies, which are important predators of aphids and garden pests. Shasta daisies perform best in full sun with well-draining soil. In humid climates or poorly drained spots, they can be short-lived. Divide every 2 to 3 years in early spring to rejuvenate the plants and spread them to new areas. Deadhead consistently to extend bloom time and limit excessive self-seeding. Like this video if Shasta daisies just earned a spot on your planting list. And drop a comment below telling William which plant on this countdown surprised you most. The Golden Age gardening community loves to hear from you. Perennial number 2, Daylilies. Varieties to look for, Stella d'Oro and Happy Returns. Daylilies are arguably the most forgiving, adaptable, and reliably vigorous perennials available to home gardeners anywhere. Stella d'Oro remains the most popular compact daylily for good reason. It stays around 12 inches tall, produces golden yellow blooms, and flowers continuously from late spring through fall, rather than in a single short flush. Happy Returns is nearly identical in habit, but carries soft lemon yellow blooms. The underground root system of a daylily is dense and tuberous, and it multiplies aggressively. Each fan of foliage produces multiple new fans every single season. A single daylily planted in spring can become a clump of 6 to 12 divisions by the following year, enough to fill an entire border section without purchasing a single additional plant. Daylilies adapt to full sun or partial shade, clay or sandy soil, wet areas or dry ones. They're deer-resistant, essentially pest-free, and require zero regular maintenance beyond division every 3 to 4 years. Recent university extension research has confirmed that established daylily clumps can suppress weed germination by up to 70% simply through dense root competition and canopy shading, making them one of the most effective low-maintenance weed control strategies available. Divide in early spring or fall. Every division grows into a full-sized plant within 1 season.
Perennial number 1, Lamb's Ear, Stachys byzantina. The plant mentioned at the very start, the one that can triple in size in a single growing season. Lamb's ear is grown primarily for its foliage, thick, velvety, silver-gray leaves that feel almost impossibly soft. The texture comes from dense, fine hairs covering every surface, an adaptation that helps the plant reflect intense sunlight and retain moisture in dry conditions. Children, in particular, are drawn to touch it, which makes it a wonderful choice for family gardens. Lamb's ear spreads by sending out horizontal stems that root wherever they contact soil. This is called stoloniferous spreading, and it's extraordinarily efficient. A small starter plant can genuinely cover 2 to 3 feet of bare ground before the end of its first growing season, and in favorable conditions with good drainage and plenty of sun, it does exactly what was promised at the start. It triples in size. Once lamb's ear fills in, the mat it creates is so dense that weed seeds cannot establish beneath it. This effectively eliminates weeding in any area it covers, an underappreciated benefit that makes it one of the most practical ground cover choices available. Something most gardeners don't realize, Stachys byzantina has a long history of use as a wound dressing. Before modern bandaging materials, the large, absorbent, antimicrobial leaves were used in field medicine, a fascinating piece of plant history that makes it an even more interesting conversation piece in the garden. Lamb's ear produces tall purple flower spikes in summer. Some gardeners remove these to keep the focus on the foliage. Others leave them because they attract bumblebees in large numbers. Either choice is perfectly valid. Provide full sun to part shade, excellent drainage, and lean soil. Avoid overwatering. This plant suffers far more from wet roots than from drought. If the center of an old clump dies out, simply remove the dead material and the plant will fill back in from the edges within weeks. Control is straightforward. Pull up sections that venture beyond their intended space. The removed pieces transplant easily and root quickly. Divide every 2 to 3 years to keep colonies tidy and to generate free plants for expanding coverage to new areas. And that's the full countdown. 10 vigorous, fast-filling perennials that give you an established, abundant garden look in 1 or 2 seasons instead of 5. Plant them once, divide them as they grow, and your garden keeps expanding year after year without additional spending. From Speedwell at number 10 to Lamb's Ear at number 1, every plant on this list earns its place through real-world performance and genuine garden value. If this video gave you a clearer plan for filling your garden fast, share it with someone who's been struggling with bare beds or slow-growing plants. Subscribe to Golden Age Gardening so you never miss a new episode, and hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more gardeners who need this information. William Scott signing off from Golden Age Gardening. Get these plants in the ground and watch your garden transform faster than you ever thought possible.